Hello, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Beatrice Gerli. I'm a gender targeting and social inclusion specialist working for IFAD, International Fund for Agricultural Development. And today I'm going to present you a very interesting experience of the joint program, which relates to behavioral change results generated by the use of the gender action learning system in Kyrgyzstan. So before delving into the results, I would like to briefly present you about what is the gender action learning system. So this is a well-established change methodology that aims at reducing gender inequalities within the household as well as communities by as well as helping rural men and women to analyze and identify opportunities for improved livelihoods and develop joint livelihood strategies that involving all household members. So GALS is the most comprehensive and developed household methodologies, and IFAD has been experimenting with it since 2010 in partnership with its author, Linda Mayu, an independent consultant, as well as key partners such as Oxfam and HEBOS. The joint program provided a great avenue to adapt GALS to different geographical contexts, such as, for instance, Kyrgyzstan, but also Nepal and Guatemala. GALS is a methodology that triggers behavioral change, and it generates results in terms of better relationships within the household, more equitable decision-making processes, but also better ability to plan livelihoods in general, leading to results such as increased savings, smarter investments, better management of natural resources, or better ability to cope and mitigate negative effects of climate change, and of course, cutting across all of this, improving gender equality and women's empowerment. GALS can also be considered as an accelerator of development interventions. It is actually not a standalone training, but more a delivery method that can suit all types of technical interventions, ranging from poor value chain development, natural resource management, rural finance, as well as climate change adaptation. Another interesting aspect about GALS is that it is based on the use of visual tools, which makes it accessible to also illiterate people. That wasn't the case of Kyrgyzstan, where the literacy rate is very high. But the fact of using visual tools is something that stimulates the right side of the brain, which is the side that relates to creativity, imagination, and that's precisely what helps people using GALS to envision a different life for themselves, to develop a plan to achieve this vision and act upon it. And also drawing, it's not just fun, but it also means that you know what you're talking about. If you can draw, it means that you're keeping it simple and more achievable. BALI is an acronym that stands for a Business Action Learning Initiative. We're going to talk about this methodology too, because it is a sequential branch of GALS that was actually invented in Kyrgyzstan in the context of the twin program, with the aim to develop business capacity and financial management skills. So basically, it requires ability to use GALS, knowledge of its principle, and has the objective to help women to diversify out of the narrow range of let's say, female activities or activities that are considered to be under female responsibility, to enter instead into more profitable businesses or activities that are typically not managed by women. This leads typically to the diversification of the livelihood options, and also to take advantage of some business opportunities that are available in a given community. So GALS and BALI were implemented in the joint program in Kyrgyzstan with a subset of about 4,000 project beneficiaries. And since we're wrapping up the first phase of the twin program in 2021. A qualitative assessment was conducted to assess the results of the use of this methodology. So in order to conduct the study, we partnered with the University of Central Asia, and we interviewed a sample of 271 people that were all beneficiaries of the joint program, but some of them had been using GALS, some others BALI and GALS, and final group did not use either of the two, so that this would help us to understand what is the added value of using GALS as opposed to not using it in the context of the project. So we used a variety of methods, community profiles, focus group, in-depth interviews, and so on. And we interviewed people across the 4 oblasts, the 4 regions of implementation of the programs, which are Osh, Narin, Jalalabad, and Chui. So the results of this study have been very, very interesting. The first one that I would like to share with you is the fact that it acted as, we noticed that GALS acted as a development accelerator of results. So participants interview of the study declared that GALS contributed to the revision of all practices on farming and housekeeping, basically helping them to make better use of the technical trainings that had been provided in the context of the twin program. Just to give you some concrete examples, women noted improved practices on crops, on seed plantings, and activities were optimized to reduce both the physical burden as well as the time workload. Also, livestock keeping practices became more productive, and this resulted into an increase of the number of animals owned by the household. Another interesting result was a fairer workload distribution among household members. So GALS stimulated discussion around the allocation of duties and responsibilities between household members, and in particular between female and male household members, leading ultimately to a more balanced distribution of responsibility between family members. And this actually also resulted into the ability to free up women's time so that they could also engage in additional economic activities, especially those promoted by BALI. But we're going to talk about it later. Another very interesting result of GALS has been which is the other side of the medal of the fairer workload distribution, is improved decision making. Again, GALS stimulated joint discussion around every kind of household issues involving all family members, so husband, wife, children, but also mother-in-laws. They're very powerful decision makers in Kyrgyz households. And this let's say, the occasion to have joint discussions around what mattered to household members was compounded with increased confidence of women to speak up, to bring up their issues, and to negotiate their priorities within the household, but also within the communities in some cases. I think it's important to report also the fact that after the participation in GALS BALI, property discussions also led about questioning property issues, sometimes leading to changes in the registration of property, which was registered in the name of women, which I think is quite a remarkable result out of the use of this methodology. Another important finding is the fact that change takes time to happen. So typically when using GALS, people are stimulated to draw a vision for their life. It's a medium to long-term plan of where they want to be, who they want to be. And we notice that it takes about 1 year to start achieving elements of that vision. So let's say that an implication of this finding is that monitoring and continuous supporting is key to ensure the successful achievement of one's vision and to keep the momentum of GALS going. In terms of results generated by BALI, the study noted that it had fostered creative and innovative thinking among users, as well as strategic planning, ability to conduct better problem solving, and also taking into consideration gender dimensions when doing such planning or when to developing a new business, meaning, for instance, the implication of getting engaged in a new business in terms of workloads, in terms of allocation of household financial resources, and so on. It also helped very concretely to have a more detailed analysis of the demands present in the market and how to better cater it with the existing resources in a given location or in a given community. So this has led to the development of very innovative businesses based on local supplies and local demand, which therefore hopefully are going to be sustainable over the time. So again, just to give you a few examples, women engaged in the production of frozen dumplings, even targeting export markets. They engage in non-standard use of felt and production of various types of felt products. The use of leaves as natural fertilizers, selling them as natural fertilizers, running of bakery, dumpling factory, modern and more rational ways of processing vegetables, such as, for instance, dried tomatoes, vegetable salads, also led to improved animal husbandry, marketing, advertising, and in a very interesting case, it led to the establishment of an ice skating ring in a very remote community of Narin as a business. So overall, I think that also as demonstrated by the results portrayed in the WEAI values presented by my colleague Anna, I think the use of BALI and GALS BALI have been highly beneficial to the results of the DREAM program. However, there are some interesting considerations for future programs that should be taken into account, that also emerged out of this qualitative study. The first one relates to the need to address issues that prevent women from actually starting to participate in GALS meeting, which is the need to have on board the support of their husbands or their mother-in-law. So involving also them to understand what this strange drawing training is about and what is the value that they can get out of it. The second consideration is that it's always very important to involve men. First of all, because GALS is a household methodology, so it does entail the need to negotiate priorities and livelihood strategies with other household members. And I think that this general, let's say, call for additional involvement of men applies a bit to our joint program in Kyrgyzstan in general as a good lesson learned for the future. Then another important finding is that monitoring and increasing the frequency of monitoring is very important to keep on providing support to people's visions, to people's activities. And lastly, and this is very specific to BALI, it is important to combine the rollout of GALS and BALI with technical trainings of different kinds. And when talking about BALI, we're talking especially about trainings on financial literacy, marketing, and practical and technical business planning, which is favored by BALI tools, but that can anyhow be enhanced by better numeracy and financial literacy. So I thank you very much for your attention, and I'll be waiting for any questions you might have or points that you wish to be discussing together. Thank you, and over.